Welcome back, focus learners, to another explainer. Look, if you've ever felt like you're just stuck on this endless treadmill, constantly trying to figure out what your audience actually wants, well, you are in exactly the right place today. We're breaking down this absolutely fascinating concept straight from the Growth Creators Toolkit. Together, we're going to build an operational blueprint, a system designed to help you construct a sustainable, self-feeding audience feedback loop. I mean, I absolutely love this framework because it literally removes all the guesswork from content creation. No more shooting in the dark. So are you ready to completely optimize how you interact online? Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a massive fundamental shift in how we need to think about content. The old paradigm, it relies heavily on top-of-funnel impression spikes. You know the drill, broadcasting to passive, distracted scrollers just hoping to get views. But here's the problem. Views are highly unstable. If your entire strategy relies on them, you are incredibly vulnerable to the next algorithmic adjustment. It's just an exhausting way to operate. Now, consider the new paradigm. This is all about treating your audience not as spectators, but as a real-time, decentralized research and development department. By letting audience interaction directly dictate your output, you build a closed loop. You're actually training the algorithm, rather than letting it dictate your success. It's a total game changer.
To make this shift happen, we're going to cover 4 core pillars today: the true algorithmic hierarchy, the friction map, the consultation room, and finally, the escape hatch. Think of this as your operational masterclass. We're laying out the exact playbook right now. Pillar number 1, the true algorithmic hierarchy. It's time to move way beyond the vanity metrics. Because, let's face it, not all engagement is created equal. Modern social algorithms have evolved way past basic vanity indicators. Think about likes for a second. That is a very low-friction action. Someone can mechanically double-tap a screen without truly digesting a single second of your message, right? But as we move up that ladder, through comments and then up to shares and saves, the friction increases. And therefore, the psychological investment increases significantly. To maximize your organic reach, you've got to engineer your hooks and your scripts specifically for those highest value interactions. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the source material frames the save function. It defines saves as the utility metric. When someone saves your post, it's not just a casual passing interaction. It is an explicit statement of future intent. They are literally telling the algorithm, hey, this information is so technically dense, so practical or critical that I need to store it in my personal archive for later. Platforms absolutely love this. They reward it heavily because deep utility keeps that user anchored to their application. They're coming back.
And that builds directly into our next high-friction action, shares. Or what's defined here as the identity metric. Sharing is incredibly powerful. Why? Because it's a declaration of personal identity. When a viewer forwards your content to a colleague or a private group chat, they are actually articulating their own perspective through your work. They're basically saying, this solves a problem my peers are having, or this makes me look informed by association. What you should really take away from this is that shares drive authentic, compounding network effects that work completely independently of cold algorithmic curation. You're tapping into human networks, not just computer networks.
All right, let's move on to pillar number 2, the friction map. This is where we turn comments into content engines.
Seriously, you have to stop reading your comment section just looking for praise. It is an absolute goldmine of market data, if you know how to sort it. This framework outlines a weekly audit. Every 7 days, review the comments across your last 5 pieces of content plus 3 major competitors and drop them into 3 diagnostic buckets. Bucket 1, execution friction. A classic example would be a user saying, hey, I tried setting up the Docker container like you showed, but I keep hitting an out-of-memory error. Bucket 2 is contextual skepticism. Think of a comment like, well, this works great for the US, but how does it handle local UPI compliance in Tier 3 Indian cities? And finally, Bucket 3, informational gaps. For instance, what happens to the data layer when the backend scales past free tier limits? Categorizing this feedback gives you an incredibly precise map of exactly what your demographic is actually struggling with.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what you do with that mapped data. You use the comment-to-short production pipeline. Please, whatever you do, do not just reply to those high-value friction points with a static text answer. Treat them as your next content prompts. Step 1, screenshot that specific high-friction comment. Step 2, use that screenshot directly as your initial visual hook. And step 3, immediately answer it with a zero-fluff script. Something like, if you're hitting this exact error, here's the 3-line configuration fix you need right now. This system is just brilliant because it guarantees that 100% of your technical output is pre-validated by actual user demand. You are literally just answering the market.
That brings us to pillar number 3, the consultation room, scaling trust asynchronously. I want you to consider this powerful metaphorical contrast. Your main public feed, that is your marketing billboard. Simple as that. But your direct messages, your DMs, that is your private business consultation room. If a follower actually takes the time and initiative to send you a private message, they have just cleared a massive barrier of intent. The nature of how you interact with them absolutely must shift when they move from that broad public space into this private intimacy. So how do you handle those DMs to build intense loyalty without spending all day typing out dense walls of text? Well, you use the asynchronous voice note funnel. Sending a quick 30 to 45-second audio message completely shatters the digital barrier because they hear a real human voice. It follows a strict 3-step sequence. First, personal validation. Acknowledge them by name. Hey, Rohan, really appreciate you reaching out after the deployment content. Second, the concise solution. Give them one immediate, high-yield action step. For that database lag, check if your connection pooling is saturating your CPU ceiling. And third, the structured loop. End with a low-friction prompt. Adjust that limit today and drop me a message tomorrow to let me know if latency drops. Guys, this transforms a casual follower into an intensely loyal advocate in under a minute. It's so effective.
And finally, pillar number 4, the escape hatch, moving off rented platforms.
So the crucial point is captured perfectly in this quote. Every major social network is a rented space. Honestly, this should be a wake-up call. You do not own your distribution channels. You are entirely subject to changing platform guidelines, shifting monetization terms, and algorithmic reach filters. All this amazing work we've discussed, the comment mining, the voice notes, it's ultimately vulnerable if you don't build an escape hatch.
That's where you need to design what the source text calls the conversion bridge. Here's how it works. First, take that highly saved utility content we talked about earlier and transform it into a structured digital asset. Think along the lines of a configuration template or a localized pricing calculator. This becomes your lead magnet. Next, use conversational triggers on your public feeds. Simply instruct viewers, comment the word deploy below, and I will instantly DM you the complete setup guide. This automates your top-of-funnel distribution. It automatically shifts users from the public feed into the private intimacy of the DMs, and it provides a direct, seamless path for them to join your owned, interactive community. This is the exact space where you can eventually offer high-ticket products in an ecosystem that you actually control.
So we've covered the algorithmic hierarchy, comment mining, DM strategies, and building your escape hatch. It's a complete paradigm shift from chasing those unstable top-of-funnel impression spikes to building an actual sustainable ecosystem. I want to leave you with this final provocative question. As you create your next piece of content, ask yourself, are you just building a broadcast audience, or are you facilitating a real-time R&D department? The choice you make will define the longevity of your digital business. Thanks for focusing in with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.